Alright, now let's apply materials for the mesh here. Before we can vertex paint and use also parallax occlusion and make this really beautiful and really nice and try to aim for AAA quality, we need to create a material. So let's start by creating a new folder. Let's call this one soil. No, let's just call this one material. And then we can drag this one inside the terrain. Okay, I think this is smart. Make a new folder, because later we need the textures. But we only prepare the logic for the material, and then in the next episode we will just add, we will find good textures, which are also free to use. Maybe I will create my own texture, or maybe we'll just go to Polyhaven, because the textures of Polyhaven are pretty good. So let's go to a material, right click, and create a new material, and we call this one M terrain. And we are going to have, I think, like 3 different materials inside this. So soil, mud, or maybe sand and mud with puddles, and then a grass texture. So we can blend them perfectly. So now if we want to basically prepare our parallax occlusion first, and then we use the vertex blending, we need to start with parallax. So just type in parallax L, and you need this parallax occlusion mapping. So now we need to connect a bunch of stuff, to be honest. So what we need to do, we need textures. We don't have textures, but what we can have now are so-called texture samples. So this means they are empty, but we can just load in, for example, the diffuse, the height map. We also need the diffuse, and we need the normal. So let's just get those textures. And let's just prepare them, okay? Let's get this one, and we use a normal. So this will be our normal texture. Let's just do something like this. Normal, and let's make it blue. Something like this, okay? So this will be our normal map. Later, this will be our height map later. So let's just drag select C, and we call this one height, and we make the height something like gray. So we do know that this is only height information, and we can just put it here. So the normal, let's put it here, and we need the diffuse. So drag select C, and we call this one diffuse, or you can call it color. Doesn't really matter. Put it here. Let's give it another color, maybe like a rich color, something like this. Okay, so now this is just what we prepare now. Okay, so make sure that you change this to normal. So now we will already encounter the first issue. When we start connecting the height map, so this is our first input, you can see, oh, this is not going to work because it says we need a texture 2D. So what you can do, right click on this and convert to texture object. Boom. So now you have that prepared. And now basically you can connect this, okay? And we will load our height texture here later. Then you need the diffuse. Put the parallax UV into the UV, and this is the base color, so the diffuse color. Oops, sorry. Yeah, it has an error, sorry for that. So this is the reason. So the reason why this has an error, don't mind this, because we don't have a texture yet. This is the only reason. And then we get also the parallax UVs for the normal, and we put this into the normal. Now we can proceed with the so-called height map channel. Let's press 4 and click, and then you have a constant. And for this constant, you can open this one up, and we want to use the red channel as a height information. So press 1 and the red channel, and then you can connect this one like so. Then the height ratio, you can right click here and promote a parameter. And you can just leave it as it is. We put this in between here. and we use a value of 0.1. So aim for a value of 0.05 or 0.1. 0.1 is already pretty strong, and 0.05 is settle. So this is like the minimum, but we will start by using this height. This is basically the strength of the parallax. Then let's get another constant. Let me put this one here so it's better for you to see. For min and max steps, this is the quality. So min is by default 8, so the steps and how many times the parallax is going to be affected. And the max is like 32. I just get a double, so let me just get another constant here. And the constant is just a fixed value, so we're basically hard coding that. So let's do 16 as a min. So now this will be 16 instead of 8 steps, so we have better quality. And max steps, we get a constant as well. And we get this one, and we use 32. 64, because it is already 32, right? Yeah, 64. So we just double the quality, and you can also double click on this and straighten that. Double click here and straighten. Then we want to have shadowing enabled, all right? So our parallax occlusion needs to interact with the height and cast shadows. So this has like this nice effect that our textures are really like have this geometry raised. So you need to get this render shadows occlusion mapping, and this is called SB. SB is means static bool. So just drag out and type in bool, so static bool, and you want to click this. So you want to enable this, okay? So this is pretty important. So now we know that the render shadows is clicked. Also, let's get the shadow steps. So get this one constant, shadow steps. Default is, I believe, 16. Let's do 32. So more shadow steps gives us a better shadow, of course. And the shadow penumbra is basically a value. Let's do a value of 1, like how soft your shadows are going to be. 1 is pretty fine. And we need a light vector. So let's do the sky, atmosphere, light direction. Okay? Sky, atmosphere, light direction. And this has like an index of 0. So an index inside Unreal Engine of 0 means it's always the first one he's going to find in our scene. We do have a directional light. So this is basically the light direction, using basically our directional light. We have one in our scene, or we will always have one in our scene. And this is where the shadow will always be affected. So if the sun is coming from left, our shadows will face from left to right, for example. So it depends. So we are basically connecting our directional light from our scene. Then we are going to have nice shadows. But we're not really done yet, because we want to really like enhance our shadows so that our shadows are really like they can really see stuff. Once you connect this shadow steps and render shadows, the static bool, so everything is fine. So this node knows, okay, we can use a shadow value. So there's a trick you can do. You can put in a lerp node, which is basically a blend of two things. And you get the alpha. The alpha is a shadow, so that only those shadow spots are now affected. Let me just put it here. And press Q. And then we want the diffuse value as an A input. So the first value will be just the diffuse, the color. And then we can use a multiply. And use the B value of the multiplier by 0.2, for example. Then put the multiplier, let's put the multiplier in front, like so. So this is better to see for you. So now you can get the diffuse and put this into the multiply. Now this diffuse is getting multiplied by 0.2, and this would be the B value. So the first, like the lerp value, let me do like so. So the diffuse value is our original color map. And we just blend the same diffuse value by a multiply node by 0.2, which is B. And only what is affected, only the shadows. So the alpha is the shadow, okay? And then you can just hook this one up. This is pretty important too, that you have this. And let's just straighten this. And now you can see we are almost done. Let me straighten this. You can right click on this node and then straighten this. And you can also straighten this and straighten this. And this is perfectly fine. Let's straighten this as well. And just to make sure, maybe this one. Boom. And this one. Boom. Okay, so now we're almost done. So one last thing you need to do, and this is like the most important thing basically now, is we want to have the pixel depth offset so that our parallax occlusion is working 100%. So pixel depth offset, just connect this into the pixel depth offset. And let me just make this more obvious what this is and straighten this connection. Okay? Okay, so this is it for the logic as of now. So this is only for one material. In the next episode, we will add the height blend. So we need to have this 3 times. You can just copy this, put this one here, and then we can use the second material, which is the same like this. We then just get a vertex input, like a vertex node or a vertex color node, and we hook this up into the red channel, and then we can also use a green channel for our third material. So set up like another material. But before we do that, let me just apply and save. So we can just save this. He's asking for textures, so don't mind this. But what we need to do, we apply this here. When you click on this mesh, okay, this is not a landscape, it's a mesh. Cast shadow, just disable this, please. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues. So cast shadow, disable this on the mesh. And also, click on this terrain, or like click on this terrain again. Click on this binocular here. So this is the terrain. Right click and nanite, and then make sure that nanite is disabled. Okay, don't enable nanite. And then we save. And this is it for just setting up the parallax occlusion. And in the next episode, we're going to use actual textures. So we will load in a texture, and then we will add our vertex paint into this material, and then we can start painting.